My family has a long history of working in retail, and I am the second child, Linda. My parents were constantly on the go, what with my older brother and all the development classes they had to attend. How about I was the last thing on their mind. Whoever hosted our family show was obvious to me even as a little child. Whenever my sister and I were younger, my brother always got our hands on the coolest stuff first. I was given his old clothes. That did indeed include his clothing, which was especially challenging because, I was a female who longed to wear something feminine for a change. My grandma, who was my mom's mother, was the one bright light in my otherwise gloomy childhood. Picking me up from school and dropping me off at her place daily, she was my savior. Grandma made an effort to be involved in my life, in contrast to my parents, who were preoccupied with my brother's pursuits. My darling, how was class today? As we strolled home, her eyes gleamed with sincere curiosity. Have you discovered anything fascinating? At parent-teacher conferences, she was the one who reviewed my assignments and was genuinely aware of my living circumstances. I used to be sent out to watch cartoons by myself while my parents played Monopoly with my brother, which was their favorite family pastime, but I was never invited to join in. Hey, Linda, why don't you relax in front of the TV? This is what Mom would say if I attempted to play along with them. You should not be trying to understand these rules. As far as our household was concerned, that was about it. I was taught to be independent at a young age. I would prepare my own meals, tidy my room, and complete my assignments without assistance. My parents weren't inherently evil. I was simply not their golden child. Now that I'm older, I can understand how my formative years were influenced by those events. I was learning to fend for myself while they prepared my brother to be their next great business star. I discovered the importance of being independent, taking care of myself, and above all else, the significance of having a supportive person, like my grandma at my side. On the day I purchased that superhero comic book, my entire world turned upside down. I had meticulously counted every penny of my pocket money for weeks until I finally got enough. I was right. Standing before the magazine rack made me feel like I was about to find a whole new universe. The shopkeeper likely became tired of seeing children purchasing sweets and inquired, "Are you sure you want to spend your money on that?" For some reason. "Indeed, I am certain," I responded, clinging to my prized acquisition. I woke up several times that night. The comic book's artwork captivated me. As I studied the painter's use of ink and paper to convey movement and emotion, I found myself caressing the lines with my fingers. I snatched up a pad of notepaper and got to work sketching first thing in the morning. I used to draw clumsy stick figures with shaky lines. However, I made sure to practice whenever I could, whether it was during lunch, after homework, or even in class. My apologies, math teacher. My drawings began to improve shortly after, and that's when inspiration struck. Hey, how about we made our very own superhero? While having lunch with several buddies one day, I proposed. Someone who isn't like the others. Like what? Inquired my friendly and sincerely curious buddy Lisa. What if our hero were to go to the aid of strays and abandoned children? I proposed the idea while making notes in my journal. Just a caring person, no magical abilities required. It was a hit with my pals. We began collaborating on it, brainstorming ideas during lunch breaks. All of us would pitch in with suggestions while I drew rough sketches. A common individual who made the conscious decision to have an impact became our hero. Our homeroom teacher, Miss Thompson, overheard us sharing a humorous anecdote in class one day. Rather than becoming furious, she politely requested to view it. As I nervously turned in our assignment, I braced myself for detention. "Linda, this is absolutely incredible," she exclaimed as she turned the pages. "Could you see this kind of thing appearing in the school newspaper?" Our school newspaper ran our small comic strip before I could ever imagine. As word got around, more kids began approaching me in the halls to inquire about the next chapter. I was finally recognized for something I had made, rather than merely being someone's sister. It was a first for me. Even my brother couldn't help but notice how much attention I was receiving. While he was at home, he would remark something like, "It's just some dumb drawings," in an apparent attempt to deflect attention away from himself and onto me. Career day followed. When Miss Thompson wanted to know everyone's future plans, she palled them all. I sprang to my feet and blurted out, "A designer." The entire class went into a standing ovation. "I can totally see how that works. Impressive work. You're the ideal candidate for that." Unfailingly, Miss Thompson grinned. "I believe that's a fantastic decision, Linda, given your skill and commitment." I was eager to inform my folks since I was overjoyed. During supper that night, I told my server about my dream. A creative, while looking at Dad, Mom giggled. "My darling, that's not the way to build a career. You need to think like an entrepreneur if you want to be successful." Dad emphasized, "Keep an eye on your sibling. He already understands business principles." However, I am opposed to doing business. I objected. "I want to create things." "Mom, making things won't bring in enough money," she said, scoffing at my ambition. "You need to be practical." I went to Grandma because I knew she would understand my pain and disappointment. Her face brightened as she beheld my sketches and listened to my account of my dreams. "My talented girl," she exclaimed as she embraced me tightly. "Wait right here." An easel, actual canvases, and a set of artist quality paints were a pleasant surprise the following day from her. Not only that, though, she made my art studio a reality by clearing out her extra room. As the years passed, my brother's high school graduation ceremony took place amid the usual pyrotechnics. My parents threw him a lavish graduation celebration. Everyone in his family and circle of friends was invited. After the party had ended, he disclosed his intentions to go to college over supper. I'll never forget that day. "I am a member of the economics program," he announced with a sense of accomplishment, proudly holding up his acceptance letter. "I'm going to be the richest businessman this family has ever seen. Just watch me." As he lifted his glass, Dad beamingly said, "That's our boy. To me, that is the epitome of future-oriented planning. We are all going to be proud of you." Mom dried her eyes, her joy evident. "We always knew you were destined for great things." I, on the other hand, was dividing my time between my regular high school subjects and working on my art portfolio during my senior year. I had found solace in my grandmother's modest workshop. Drawings and paintings adorned the walls. With each new creation, I felt like I was getting closer to my goal of being a fashion designer. Whenever I had free time after school, I'd go there and work on various projects or refine my existing ones. By the time graduation rolled around, I had already secured a spot in the local college's design department. The admissions committee was impressed by my portfolio. However, my parents' response was anything but thrilled. "Well," Mom said with a groan, staring at my acceptance letter as if it were an unwanted expense, "I suppose we'll cover it, but please don't come groveling to us if you run into trouble finding employment. I don't think art degrees are really useful." My brother had gone into business for himself as an auto parts dealer by the time I enrolled in college. It was all my folks could speak about. He seemed to always find a way to bring up his business attitude, whether it was during family dinners, phone calls, or conversations in general. I had recently settled into a pattern at university, was getting into the swing of things with my design projects, and was beginning to form friendships with other creative types. Then it all went boom. I was walking across campus with my portfolio case when my parents unexpectedly came up one day after my design theory session. "Linda, we need to have a serious conversation," Mom remarked, her tone conveying that this was no ordinary visit. She had that dogged expression that I'd grown to despise. "You need to leave college," Dad declared without elaboration, positioned in the center of the campus walkway. Your brother needs help at the store." At first, I took it as a joke. "Oh, really? How? I don't think you're serious." "He's spending too much on employee salaries," Mom stated, as if it were the most logical suggestion ever. "Being his sister, you are eligible for free labor. No one can do more for their loved ones than this. You've always been taught the value of family by us." In agonizing detail, they mapped out their strategy. Every night, I would clean the store, make cold calls, manage inventory, and work as a salesperson. All for free. They had obviously given this a lot of consideration, yet they had completely ignored my wishes. "And what exactly will my brother be doing while I'm doing all this work?" My voice quivered with rage as I inquired. My grasp on my portfolio case was so tight that I could feel my knuckles becoming white. Mom's face lit up like she was about to share some fantastic news with a very sluggish youngster. "Indeed, he will be in charge of the store's operations. His degree is in business, Linda. Your brother is prepared for this role. Therefore, he is competent to lead." In spite of the growing fury within me, I took a deep breath and attempted to maintain a steady voice. "This is not the end for me. They have hinted at a position after graduation, and I have previously completed an internship with Davidson Design Studio. To be a designer is my lifelong goal." Even more impressively, they claimed they'd never had an intern as imaginative as me. Nearby students spun around and stared, with a few of them offering me sympathetic looks, while Mom's laughter sliced through the air like a dagger. "Are you serious? You want to be an employee of someone else's uncle? Join the ranks of employee? Here's a chance for a true future, a family business. How many people would give their lives for this chance?" I begged my mother, please, as I fought back tears. With all the projects I had dedicated myself to in my portfolio, it was a burden to hold. I have no interest in working in sales. My heart isn't in being an entrepreneur. I would like to begin a career in design. I long to be an artist. It's my forte. I have tremendous talent, according to my professors. Professor Jenkins went so far as to suggest that I might be able to make a career out of this. "Talent doesn't pay bills," Mom fumed, her expression becoming more severe. "However, we are immediately proceeding to the administration office due to your absolute stubbornness on this matter," she said, straightening her jacket and looking over at Dad. "We're withdrawing our tuition payment and will inform them that you are no longer a student here." Every beat ceased. There was a noticeable slant to the universe. "Please, Mom and Dad, don't do this. For the sake of my future, could you please listen to me once?" "There's no need to talk about it," Mom harshly stated. "We will no longer support your pastime until you agree to work at the store. The time has come for you to mature and accept reality." As my parents went away, destined to destroy my future, I watched their figures shrink amid my tears. As they vanished into the structure, the autumn leaves whirled about them. They reappeared 45 minutes later, all smiles. With jubilant grins on their faces, they approached me as I remained seated on the bench. "All right, I see. That's taken care of," Mom said with a smile. "We have discontinued the tuition payments and signed the withdrawal paperwork. As of next semester, you will no longer be considered a student here." And then Dad threw in, "Time to pack up your things and come home," as if he were announcing some sort of surprise gathering. "Your brother needs you at the store first thing Monday morning." "Linda, you've entered the real world," Mom remarked as she patted my shoulder. "Believe me when I say you will remember this day and think we were kind to you. You still have a lot of packing to do, so let's get home." I sat there with my broken dreams and now useless portfolio while they turned and left. My voice quivered as I drew out my phone, dialing the number of the one reliable individual who had never failed me. "Grandma," I cried out over the phone, "they're threatening to force me to graduate from college." They approached the higher-ups in charge and, "Take it easy, darling," her soothing voice resounded. "Tell me everything." I broke down in tears as I described the store, my brother's requirements, and my parents' ultimatum. With only a few subtle snorts here and there, Grandma listened intently. She told me sternly, "Don't pack a single thing." After I finished, "Tomorrow I will be making my way down there. We're done with this crap. Just concentrate on your studies," you say. Grandma showed up 3 days later, just as promised. I stayed behind while she went to the executive office. It was too much for me. However, she appeared to be cheerful upon her return 2 hours later. "It's sorted out," she declared. "Your remaining tuition has been covered by me. There's no moving you from your rightful place." I was scared I was going to break something when I hugged her. "Thank you, thank you, thank you." Precisely 6 hours passed during the calm. There, Grandma and I spent some quality time together. Mom contacted her at that moment. "How dare you interfere?" The sound of my mother's yelling pierced the room as I sat across from her on the phone. "This is none of your business." Gesturing away from her ear, Grandma rolled her eyes. "It became my business when you tried to destroy your daughter's future." After what felt like an eternity of ranting, Grandma finally decided to hang up. Next, the ringing of my phone began. "You can consider yourself disinherited if you don't come to your senses right now," Mom said with an icy tone of voice. "Is it your desire to sacrifice your loved ones so you can take art lessons?" Breathing steadily for the first time in days, I drew a deep breath. "No leaving college for me, Mom. Apologies, but I need to go my own way. Then you're no daughter of mine." A dead end was reached. My heart sank when I saw the Facebook post an hour later. "Our daughter left us when we needed her most. Her egotism has triumphed over her devotion to her family. During this challenging time, we ask that you pray for us." A fire broke out in the comment area. I had a feeling she was an ungrateful youngster. Aunt Sarah wrote, "Let the girl pursue her passions." Uncle Jim shot back. My cousin Rachel brought up the topic of family responsibilities, and Emma, a friend from high school, spoke out in favor of my independence. As I read comment after reply, a horrible sensation settled over me as I sat on my bed. While I was still going through the responses, my grandma came across me there. She firmly told me to stop reading that garbage, and then she took my phone. "When I told you, a choice has been made by me. My will is being revised. You will be the recipient of all my possessions." I was shocked and glanced up. "No, Grandma, I don't think you should." She cut in with, "Indeed, I do. I've kept tabs on your folks and your brother for quite some time. Another one of their half-baked business schemes would consume my life savings in just 1 month. But you," my face was held in her hands, "your ambition and skill are incredible. You will achieve great success. People are often proven right or incorrect by the peculiar ways life works." Grandma called with some news about my brother's store while I was in my final year of college. Saying, "I told you so," she attempted to conceal the fact that it was closing down. "Your brother couldn't make the numbers work. What happened?" I inquired, even though I had a fairly solid suspicion beforehand. "Same old story," was her response. "Less money is coming in than going out. And now for the exciting part." In order to add drama, she paused. "He's already got another brilliant business idea." It was confirmed a week later when my brother's Facebook status exploded with enthusiasm. "I'm excited to announce my latest venture, opening Ink Master Studios with my buddy Mike. The most renowned tattoo studio in town is on the way." He annotated the post with hashtags such as #entrepreneur, #businessowner, and #success. I couldn't help but note that he had used the artist emoji, even though he had always made fun of my artistic endeavors. I was kept apprised of the family drama by my grandma. "Your parents took out another loan against what's left of their equity," she informed me at one of our weekly dinners. "They're currently footing the bill for this tattoo parlor. Believe it or not, a second mortgage." There was a huge grand opening celebration at the tattoo parlor. Photos of their extravagant location, which was much too large for a startup, were shared by my brother every day. However, he had an ingrained belief that more was better. Their social media accounts were replete with expertly staged images of pricey furnishings and state-of-the-art appliances. Up next, the posts began to evolve. Influencers and promotional models were increasingly offering free tattoos. Grandma made the snide observation that this was particularly true for the attractive women who had captured the attention of my brothers Mike and brother-in-law. The tattoo parlor closed its doors precisely 1 year later. There are too many giveaways, not enough paying clients, and excessive expenses. A going out of business sign appeared in the window without any online commotion. In the meanwhile, my life was heading in a completely different path. My final portfolio was stronger than I had anticipated when I began college, and I finished with honors. I finally got the call I had been waiting for the day after graduation. "We'd be thrilled to have you on board," Sarah, Davidson Design Studios' creative director, remarked. "Your internship work was exceptional, and your current portfolio, well, let's just say we'd be crazy to let you go elsewhere." I was surprised by the compensation they gave for a starting position. I was able to secure a modest but lovely apartment of my own within a month. It was simple, just a one-bedroom with plenty of windows, but it was mine, and I loved it. I save a certain amount of money every paycheck. Witnessing the unraveling of my family's financial situation made me resolve to establish a stable future for myself. The client was quite complimentary of my first major job here, and I could already feel my standing in the industry rising. See, Grandma's voice was filled with pride. When you showed me that first big presentation, I knew this is what happens when you stick to your talent and believe in yourself. In the end, my parents' hard work and sacrifice couldn't save them. My brother and his family couldn't repay 2 business loans secured by their home after their ventures failed. During one of our weekly chats, Grandma mentioned, "I heard they're selling the house." But even after selling, the debt remained. They went on to sell everything. Their home, Mom's prized antiques, Dad's golf clubs, their luxury cars, even Mom's designer handbags. The biggest shock was my brother's sudden announcement. He was moving to Arizona. "I can't help with the loans," he told them bluntly. "Those debts are in your name, not mine. Something's got to give." One Sunday afternoon, I was helping Grandma organize her craft room when a moving truck pulled up outside. I watched in disbelief as my parents stepped out of their last remaining car, a beat-up Toyota. Mom declared, "We're here," walking past Grandma's door without a knock. "Where should we put our things?" Grandma crossed her arms, standing firmly in the doorway. "And what exactly do you think you're doing?" Dad replied, "Moving in, of course. We have nowhere else to go." He started directing movers with boxes. "Oh, really?" Grandma's voice was ice cold. "And who said you could live here?" Mom wasn't pleased. "We're family, Mom. You can't turn us away. We lost everything because of those loans." "You mean the loans you took out to fund your precious son's half-baked schemes?" Grandma's tone hardened. "The same son who left you with the debt." Mom, unflinching, raised an eyebrow. "It doesn't matter. I'm your only daughter. This house will be mine one day anyway. We might as well move in now." A cold laugh escaped Grandma. "Is that what you think? Let me be clear. Everything I own and every brick in this house goes to Linda. Unlike you, she values more than just money. In a few months, you and your son would drain my entire savings." Mom's face twisted with anger as she processed Grandma's words. She spun to me accusingly. "You?" she spat. "This was your plan all along, wasn't it? Poisoning my own mother against me, taking what's rightfully mine." But I stayed calm, feeling a strange peace. A long time ago, I might have cried, but not now. "Mom, you need to leave." "Leave?" she shouted. "You're acting like you're in charge here already, giving orders in your grandma's house. Who do you think you are? Years of bitterness flowed through her words. "You ungrateful little snake. You left the family business, then turned my own mother against me. And here you are, acting like you're better than us." "Mom," I said quietly, "just go. This isn't your home anymore." She laughed bitterly. "Not my home. I'm her daughter, her only daughter, and you're just—" At that moment, Grandma stepped forward, wrapping an arm around my shoulder. "She's the only one who's ever truly felt at home here," Grandma said firmly. "Everyone else only saw this place for its monetary value. She's the only one who brought life and imagination to it, without demands or schemes. Now, both of you, take your things and leave my house." They didn't leave quietly. Mom yelled and argued as they loaded their boxes back onto the truck, while Dad tried negotiating till the end. Grandma and I stood at the doorway, watching silently as they finally drove away. That was 3 years ago. Since then, life has moved on. I'm still working as the lead designer for multiple big clients at Davidson Design Studio. Recently, I even received an industry award for my rebranding project for a national coffee chain. Haven't spoken to my brother since that day at Grandma's house. Sometimes I catch glimpses of his new ventures on social media. Each time he claims it'll be his big break, and I've heard my parents are now living in a small apartment across town. Meanwhile, Grandma and I have only grown closer. Last month, I helped renovate her home with my savings, designing a custom color palette, choosing artwork, and even commissioning unique furniture from local craftsmen. To her friends, Grandma at the door is flaunting it. When people come to see her, she always mentions that her granddaughter did all the work. She came up with the designs herself. She did an excellent job, didn't she? Sitting in the kitchen, where I used to complete my schoolwork after school, I occasionally listen to her enthusiastically giving tours while she hosts her bridge club or garden society meetings. My face lights up every time I watch it. She looked at me with a mischievous glint in her eye yesterday as we sipped tea on her tastefully renovated back porch, soaking in the sunset. "You know what the best investment I ever made was?" inquired her. "What's that?" As she squeezed my hand, she whispered, "Paying for your college education. For some, the best investments are stocks and real estate. I bet on your dreams, and now you see the fruit of that investment. I find that hard to dispute. I felt at ease with all my choices as I looked about at the wonderful environment we created together."
Hey there, I'm Amanda, a 28-year-old event planner with a knack for turning chaos into unforgettable moments. Right now, I'm standing in my office surrounded by mood boards and color swatches when my phone buzzes. It's Mom, calling yet again to discuss wedding cake flavors. "Honey, are you sure you don't want to try the lavender lemon? It's unique," she says, her voice brimming with enthusiasm. I can't help but smile. "Mom, you know John's allergic to lavender. Let's stick with classic vanilla, okay?" That's my mom, Lisa, always looking out for me. We've been as close as thieves ever since I can remember, and she's the reason I got into event planning in the first place. Watching her throw amazing birthday parties for me as a kid lit a spark that turned into my passion. Speaking of sparks, let me tell you about John. We met during a disastrous corporate event I was managing. The DJ had bailed, the catering was late, and I was one meltdown away from crying into the table centerpieces. Just then, this tall, calm guy strolled up and asked, "Need a hand?" Turns out he's a tech wizard, and within minutes, he had the sound system up and running. We've been inseparable ever since. Now, we're planning our own big day, and I couldn't be more excited. But there's this nagging feeling I can't shake, and it's all tied to my grandmother, Catherine. Heading to see Catherine today. My best friend Megan asks over the phone, her voice crackling. "Need me to come? I can run interference if she starts grilling you." "Nah, it's just to drop off the wedding invite," I reply, trying to sound more confident than I feel. But as I pull up to Catherine's house, my cousin Stephen, who's fixing her porch swing, gives me a look that says, "You know what you're walking into." Inside, Catherine is holding court from her favorite armchair. "Amanda, dear, Come closer, she beckons, and I hand her the invite, keeping my tone light. Big day's coming up, Grandma. Wouldn't be complete without you there. Her eyes narrow as she takes the envelope. Yes, I suppose it wouldn't. Have you considered wearing your hair up? It would show off your unique features. There it is, that subtle but unmistakable critique. I force a smile. Thanks for the tip, Grandma. I'll think about it. As I leave, her parting words linger ominously. Family's a funny thing, isn't it? Full of surprises. The unsettling vibe sticks with me, but for now, I focus on planning a wedding that's nearly perfect. Nearly because that feeling of unease refuses to fade. The big day arrives, and I'm a mess of nerves and excitement. My dress fits like a glove, and the venue looks like a fairy tale come to life. Megan gushes as she adjusts my veil. Amanda, you look absolutely stunning. Thanks, Meg, I say, my voice shaking. I can't believe it's finally happening. Just then, Mom peeks her head into the bridal suite. Honey, your grandmother's here. She's asking to see you. I frown. Already? The ceremony doesn't start for another hour. Still, I step out to greet Catherine, who looks strangely unsettled. Amanda, dear, she says, fidgeting with her purse. Before everything begins, have you ever felt like you didn't quite belong in this family? Grandma, what are you talking about? This isn't the time for. Just answer the question, dear. Exasperated, I sigh. No, I've always felt like I belonged. Can we please focus on the wedding? She nods, but there's a glint in her eye that sends a shiver down my spine. Of course, dear. The ceremony begins, and as I walk down the aisle, John's smile calms my nerves. Everything feels perfect, until a voice cuts through the air. Stop this wedding. A woman stands at the back, tall and elegant, her face a mask of anguish. I'm sorry, but I can't keep quiet any longer. Amanda, I'm your real mother. The crowd gasps, and it feels like the ground has been ripped out from under me. What? No, that's impossible. My mom, Lisa, jumps to her feet, her face pale. What is the meaning of this? She looks at me, her voice steady despite the chaos. Amanda, we'll figure this out, together. I nod numbly, unable to speak. Through the commotion, I notice Catherine. Unlike everyone else, she isn't shocked. Instead, she wears a smug smile. Realization dawns on me. Grandma, I whisper. Before I could confront her, Megan and Stephen were suddenly at my side. Amanda, this is insane. Something's not right here, Stephen said, his eyes narrowing with suspicion. Megan nodded, determined. We're going to get to the bottom of this. I promise. As quickly as she had appeared, the mystery woman vanished into the crowd. Guests scattered, calling out, trying to find her, but she was gone. My perfect day had turned into a nightmare. Questions swirled in my mind. Who was that woman? Why would Catherine do this? Was my whole life a lie? Lisa approached me, tears streaming down her face. Honey, I don't know what's happening, but you have to believe me. I'm your mother. I gave birth to you. I raised you. This has to be some kind of horrible mistake. I need some air, I mumbled, pushing through the crowd. As I stumbled outside, I heard Catherine's voice behind me, soft but cutting. The truth always comes out, dear. Always. The days following the wedding disaster were a blur. I postponed the reception indefinitely and holed up in my apartment with John. The constant flood of calls and messages was overwhelming. Amanda, John said gently one morning, we need to talk about what happened. I sighed, running a hand through my unwashed hair. What's there to talk about? My grandmother apparently thinks I'm adopted and hired some actress to ruin our wedding. Just another Tuesday, right? John didn't laugh. This is serious, Amanda. We need to get to the bottom of this. Just then, my phone buzzed. It was Megan. Amanda, you won't believe what Stephen and I found. Can we come over? 20 minutes later, Megan and Stephen arrived at my place, looking exhausted. Okay, spill it, I demanded. Stephen leaned forward, eyes intense. We did some digging. Turns out Catherine's been making regular donations to a local theater group for the past 6 months. Megan jumped in, and get this, one payment from her account went to an actress named Claire. The amount and timing line up perfectly with the wedding fiasco. My head spun. Are you saying Catherine hired an actress to pretend to be my mother? But why? That's what we need to find out, John said, squeezing my hand. I knew what I had to do. I called Catherine and demanded she come over. When she arrived, her face was a mask of innocence. Grandma, we know about the actress. Why did you do this? Catherine's eyes hardened. I did what I had to do. You deserve to know the truth about your origins. What truth? There is no truth. You made this all up. Catherine shook her head. You were adopted, Amanda. I've always known. Just then, my mom burst into the room. That's enough, Catherine. I've kept quiet about your manipulations for years, but this ends now. What followed was a revelation that shattered my world. My mom, Lisa, unleashed years of pent-up frustration, detailing how Catherine had always tried to control and sabotage our lives. She's even gone as far as sabotaging your college application so you'd stay close to home, Lisa revealed, voice shaking. I felt like I was drowning. Is that true? I demanded. Catherine's silence was all the confirmation I needed. The next few days were a whirlwind. John and I barely spoke, the weight of everything straining our relationship. I threw myself into uncovering the truth, determined to end this nightmare. During a late-night search through old boxes, I found it, a dusty folder containing my birth records. There, in black and white, was proof that Lisa was indeed my biological mother. With shaking hands, I called Megan. I found the proof. Catherine's been lying this whole time. Megan's voice was filled with relief. Thank God. But Amanda, there's more. We found out Catherine's been interfering in your life for years. Remember Michael from college? She paid him to break up with you. The revelations kept coming. Catherine had meddled in nearly every aspect of my life, always under the guise of protecting me. Armed with the truth, I confronted her one last time. Why, Grandma? Why would you do all this? Catherine's composed facade finally cracked. I was trying to protect you from making the same mistakes your mother did. I thought if I controlled everything, you'd have the perfect life. Tears streamed down my face. But it wasn't your life to control. You've hurt so many people, including yourself. As I left Catherine's house that day, a heavy weight lifted from my shoulders. The truth was out. Painful as it was, now came the hard part. Rebuilding my life and relationships in the aftermath of Catherine's web of lies. I decided to call a family meeting, my heart pounding as everyone gathered in our living room. John squeezed my hand reassuringly as I stood to address the room. I've asked you all here because it's time for the truth to come out. I began, my voice trembling slightly. Catherine has been deceiving all of us for years. I laid out everything. The hired actress, the sabotaged college applications, the manipulated relationships. With each revelation, gasps and murmurs filled the room. Catherine, seated in the corner, finally spoke. Now, Amanda, you're blowing this out of proportion. I'd only ever wanted what was best for you. My Uncle Tom stood up, his face flushed with anger. Best for her? Catherine, you've been manipulating this family for decades. Remember when you convinced me Sarah was cheating? You nearly ruined my marriage. I took a deep breath and made my decision clear. I'm cutting all ties with Catherine. I'm filing for a restraining order, and I suggest you all consider your relationships with her carefully. Catherine's face twisted with rage. You ungrateful child. After everything I've done for you. That's enough, Mom, my father interrupted, his voice stern. Lisa and I are considering legal action for the emotional distress you've caused our family. 1 year later, I sat in my office admiring a photo of John and me on our wedding day. My event planning business was thriving, and our marriage was stronger than ever. My phone buzzed, and it was Stephen. Amanda, you're not going to believe this, he said. Catherine's been arrested for financial fraud. Looks like she was running a Ponzi scheme through her charity work. I let out a long, relieved breath. Wow, I guess karma finally caught up with her. After hanging up, I leaned back in my chair, reflecting on the tumultuous journey of the past year. The pain Catherine caused was still there, a dull ache that might never fully heal, but I felt stronger, more resilient. I thought about the little girl I used to be, always seeking Catherine's approval, and I wished I could tell her that everything would be okay, that she would find the strength to break free from toxic influence and build a life filled with genuine love and trust. A knock at my office door pulled me from my thoughts. It was John, grinning widely. Ready for lunch, Mrs. Event Planner Extraordinaire? I smiled, grabbing my bag. As we walked out, hand in hand, I realized that despite everything, or perhaps because of it, I had never felt more like myself. The future stretched out before us, bright and full of possibility, free from the shadows of the past. The story of Amanda and Catherine's manipulations had come to an end. Now, I have a question for you. If you discovered a family member had been manipulating your life for years, would you cut ties completely or try to forgive them? What would it take for you to consider rebuilding that relationship? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Hey there, I'm Elizabeth. I'm 45, a single mom, and a high school teacher. Life's been a roller coaster, but I've always managed to keep things together. My daughter Hazel is 22 now, studying business in college. I swear, it feels like just yesterday she was learning to ride a bike. Mom, I need new textbooks. They're so expensive this semester, Hazel said, giving me that look she knows I can't resist. I sighed, checking my bank balance on my phone. Honey, I'll figure it out. Maybe we can find some used ones. But Mom, everyone else has the new editions. I'll be so behind. Lately, this kind of conversation has been a weekly thing. Don't get me wrong, I'd do anything for her, but it's getting harder to keep up with her demands. The other day, my best friend Lisa came over for coffee. Elizabeth, have you seen Hazel's new Instagram posts? Girls living large, she said, showing me her phone. I nearly choked on my coffee. Hazel was decked out in designer clothes, partying at a fancy club. My stomach dropped. Where's she getting the money for all this? Lisa asked. I shook my head. I don't know. Maybe her new boyfriend. Speaking of the boyfriend, John, met him once and got bad vibes immediately. Hazel used to tell me everything, but now it's like pulling teeth just to get her to say hello. At work, my colleague Mike noticed my distraction. Elizabeth, you okay? I forced a smile. Just parent stuff. Mike's a good guy, always there with a dad joke or a shoulder to lean on. Sometimes I wonder if there could be something more, but with everything going on with Hazel, dating is the last thing on my mind. Then, just when I thought things couldn't get more complicated, my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello, Mrs. Thompson. This is Karen from Midwest Bank. We're calling about the missed payments on your loan. My heart stopped. I'm sorry, what loan? The personal loan for $50,000 you took out 3 months ago. You've missed the last 2 payments. I felt like I was going to pass out. There must be some mistake. I never took out a loan. Ma'am, we have the documents here with your signature. If you can't make the payments, we'll have to discuss default options. The room started spinning. A loan I never took, my signature. There was only one person I could think of. I hung up, my hands shaking. How could this be happening? I've always tried to do right by Hazel, to give her everything she needed. And now, this. The next morning, I marched into the bank, demanding answers. The teller handed me copies of the loan documents, and my heart sank. There was, my signature. Perfect, down to every detail. But I had never signed it. Ma'am, are you all right? The teller asked, noticing my pale face. No, I'm not. This isn't my signature. I left the bank in a daze, clutching those damning papers. Back home, I waited for Hazel, my mind racing. When she finally walked in, I couldn't hold back. Hazel, did you forge my signature for a loan? She froze, eyes wide. What? Mom, that's crazy. Why would you even think that? Don't lie to me. The bank called. They have documents with my signature, but I never signed anything. Hazel's face crumpled, and she burst into tears. Mom, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for it to get this bad. My world shattered. How could you do this? Do you realize what you've done? Through sobs, Hazel confessed. The partying, the shopping sprees, even gambling. It was like I didn't know my own daughter anymore. I'll fix it, Mom, I promise. Just don't tell anyone, please. I was torn. This was my baby girl, but what she'd done was criminal. Hazel, this isn't something you can just fix. We're talking about fraud. She grabbed my hands, pleading. Mom, please, I'll get a job. I'll pay it back. Don't ruin my life over one mistake. One mistake? This was a calculated series of actions. But looking at her tear-stained face, I wavered. I need time to think, I said, walking away. I called Lisa, my voice shaking. Can you come over? It's bad. Lisa arrived in record time, and I spilled everything. Elizabeth, honey, you have to report this. This isn't just about the money. She committed a crime. But she's my daughter. How can I turn her in? And what happens when they come after you for the money? You could lose everything. She was right, but the thought of Hazel in handcuffs made me sick. The next day at work, I was a mess. Mike cornered me in the teacher's lounge. Elizabeth, what's going on? You look like you haven't slept in days. I broke down, telling him everything. His face hardened. Elizabeth, I know she's your daughter, but you can't protect her from this. She needs to face the consequences. I nodded, knowing what I had to do. That evening, I sat Hazel down. This is your last chance. Tell me everything, and we'll figure out how to make this right. Hazel's eyes lit up with hope. Really? Oh, Mom, thank you. I promise I'll fix everything. We spent hours going over her spending, the full extent of the loan, everything. It was worse than I thought, but Hazel seemed genuinely remorseful, promising to get a job and pay it all back. I'll start looking for work tomorrow, she said, hugging me tightly. I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to believe her so badly. But something in my gut told me this wasn't over. The next morning, Hazel was gone. Her room was empty, closet cleared out. On her bed was a note. I'm sorry, Mom. I can't face this. I love you. I collapsed to the floor, the note crumpling in my fists. My own daughter had run away, leaving me to face the mess she'd made. Sitting there, surrounded by the remnants of Hazel's life, I realized the true betrayal wasn't just the forced loan. It was the shattering of trust between a mother and daughter. With shaking hands, I picked up my phone, knowing the call I was about to make would change everything. But I had no choice. It was time to face the music, even if it meant losing my daughter in the process. I was in the middle of teaching algebra when it happened. The classroom door burst open, and 2 officers walked in. Elizabeth Thompson. Yes, that's me. What's going on? You're under arrest for fraud and identity theft. The students gasped. I felt the blood drain from my face as they cuffed me right there in front of everyone. The walk through the school corridors was excruciating. Colleagues stared, some in disbelief, others in judgment. The jail cell was cold and lonely. I sat there, replaying every moment with Hazel, wondering where I went wrong. The betrayal cut deep, leaving me raw and broken. Elizabeth, you've got a visitor. It was Mike, looking worried but determined. I've hired a lawyer for you. We're going to fight this. Mike, I can't afford. Don't worry about that now. We need to get you out of here. The investigation was brutal. They dug into every aspect of my life, revealing things about Hazel I never knew. Casino receipts, maxed out credit cards, a trail of lies that made me sick to my stomach. Your daughter has a serious gambling problem, Mrs. Thompson, the detective said, his voice cold. I lost my job, 20 years of teaching gone in an instant. The school board couldn't risk the scandal. Lisa was my rock through it all. She took care of my house, gathered evidence, and kept me sane during those long nights in jail. We'll get through this, Elizabeth. I promise. But Hazel and her boyfriend, John, had vanished, no calls, no messages. I was left alone to face the consequences of her actions. One night, lying on the hard jail cot, I hit rock bottom. I cried until I had no tears left, wondering if I failed as a mother, if this was all my fault. Then, a breakthrough. Security footage from a bank showed Hazel, clear as day, forging my signature. It was the evidence we needed. The day it was released, reporters swarmed me, cameras flashed, questions flew. My reputation was in tatters, but I was free. It was time to rebuild. Starting over at 45 isn't easy. I took whatever jobs I could find. Waitressing, tutoring, even walking dogs. More coffee, hon? I'd ask, swallowing my pride as I refilled cups at the local diner. Slowly, the truth spread. People who had judged me began to see the real story. Old colleagues reached out, offering support and apologies. We were wrong about you, Elizabeth. We're sorry. Then came the news that changed everything. Hazel and John were caught at the Canadian border with fake passports. The prosecutor called, asking if I wanted to press charges. It was the hardest decision of my life. I'm sorry, but I can't protect her anymore. She needs to face the consequences. The trial was a media circus. Hazel pleaded not guilty, but the evidence was overwhelming. Then, in a shocking twist, John turned on her. He claimed it was all Hazel's idea, saying she believed her mom would never turn her in. Hazel's face crumpled, betrayed by the very person she had chosen over me. The judge's gavel came down hard. Hazel, 5 years. John, 18 months with a plea deal. When it was my turn to speak, I stood tall, facing my daughter for the first time in months. Hazel, I love you. I always will. But love doesn't mean enabling destruction. You broke my heart, shattered my trust, and nearly ruined my life. I hope you find help and peace, but I can't be part of that journey. Goodbye, Hazel. I walked out of the courtroom, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders. 1 year later, life looks different. I started a support group for parents like me, turning pain into purpose. After a lengthy review, the school board reinstated me with a public apology. Lisa and I meet for coffee every week, our bond stronger than ever. And Mike? Let's just say second chances aren't just for careers. Ready for dinner? Mike asks, taking my hand. Almost. Just got some news. Hazel's appeal was denied. I feel a twinge of sadness but mostly relief. As we walk out, I realize I'm finally at peace. I've learned to prioritize my own well-being and surround myself with genuine love and support. Life threw me one hell of a curveball, but I'm still standing, stronger, wiser, and ready for whatever comes next. The toxic people in my life are gone, and I've found my own kind of justice, the peace that comes from letting go and moving forward. The story you've just heard is over, but the conversation is just beginning. So now, I want to ask you something that cuts to the heart of this tale. If you were in my shoes, would you have turned your own child in, knowing it could mean years in prison? Or would you have tried to protect them, even at the cost of your own freedom and reputation? It's not an easy question, is it? Hazel is my daughter, my flesh and blood. The instinct to protect your child is one of the strongest forces we have as parents. But on the other hand, her actions were deliberate, repeated, and caused immense harm. She betrayed my trust in the worst possible way. What do you think is the right thing to do in a situation like this? Where do we draw the line between parental love and personal responsibility? Is there a point where tough love becomes the only way forward? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below.